us from. We've got someone from Austria. Interesting. Yeah, so we've got people from Tanzania, someone from Agra. Oh, Madagascar. Okay. Someone from Noida. Okay, Bangalore as well. We've got Bryan here joining us from Texas. Santosh from Chennai. Okay. Nilesh. Okay. Different parts of the world. So good morning to people from US and Canada, everywhere else. Good evening. We're also streaming live actually on LinkedIn and YouTube. Just give me a minute while I set that up. Keep your introductions coming. And while we actually do that, what you can also let us know is your professional background. So Bryan, I'm actually going to launch this poll right away.
Okay.
Yeah. So in case you can see the poll on your screens, let us know which function you handle. Could be tech and product, data, business-facing roles, non-tech roles, can be anything. Just let us know your answer. Let us know your overall work experience as well. Okay, and if you're watching us on any of these platforms, LinkedIn. Oh, sorry, one sec. I think I heard myself, but I guess it's fine now. Yeah. Great, great, great. Keep those responses coming. I'm just going to share my screen and quickly get started. Yeah, I'm just going to keep this poll live for another few seconds. And in case you're just joining, you're wondering what's happening, just quickly let us know your professional background on the poll and leave your introductions here. Okay, hi Kevin, hi Kumar. Great, someone from Bangladesh, Nigeria. Great, great.
Got so many people all around the world.
Yeah. So many people.
Well, if we have anyone from Colorado, sunny places like that. That's where I was just this weekend. So
Oh, amazing, amazing.
yeah,
I
absolutely
think
beautiful.
great. So I'm just going to end this poll right here, Bryan, share these results.
Okay.
Hope you're able to see a lot of people who are a part of tech product related roles. And yeah, 37% of them are actually,
Look at that.
yeah, have a lot of experience.
That's pretty
More
impressive.
more than 15 years of experience. That's going to come useful when you apply for the PMP exam. More on that when we start the session. So what we have lined up for today is we thought we'd cover what the PMP exam is really all about, what topics does it have, is it really difficult as it sounds, are you eligible, you could get your questions answered from Bryan there as well, and also about how you can get started with your preparation, what resources you should be using, and we also have a past learner, Rahul, with us, who is also a retired wing commander from Indian Air Force. So he's transitioned to becoming a program and project manager. So he's here with us as well. So I'll introduce both of them to you shortly. So Rahul is going to talk about his journey, his learning experience with us at Simplilearn. So, I'm really excited, Rahul, to have you and Bryan as well. So it's going to be, yes.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. So learners, if you've got questions for either of them, please make sure you use the Q&A box. Keep the conversations relevant. And of course, the session is going to be interactive, especially with Bryan around. So you'll have to be on your toes on the chat box. Yeah, you make sure that you're putting in your questions, on the Q&A box, and we'll take them towards the end of the session, right? So you also get a webinar attendance certificate for which we'll collect your names towards the end. So make sure you stay on till the end and gain as much as you can and kickstart your PMP preparation, right? So with that, let me just quickly introduce Simplilearn and what we do. We've been operational for last 15 years, and we've touched more than 8 million careers worldwide. We've got learners from across the world. We've got 150 plus global partnerships with leading institutions in India and also abroad, and a lot of organizations, including Microsoft, AWS, Google, and also PMI, of course, for the PMP certification that we have. So what we're really proud of is that our learners have gone on to achieve salary hikes. They've completed, 85% of them have actually completed our courses, and they've rated us 4.8 on 5 on leading platforms. So that's what we're really proud of, and that's how we stand out. So in case you're interested to check out a portfolio of courses, you should do that on simplylearn.com. Okay, and with that, let me introduce Bryan to you. Maybe a quick poll again. Have you guys seen Bryan earlier? We did like a Q&A last month, and then we also did a live PMP prep. So if you guys remember, we did that. In case you guys remember or have seen Bryan earlier, just a quick yes or a no will help.
That's right. Any groupie following, yeah.
You sure for sure you have that, right?
I'm not quite at that influencer level yet, Aparna, but I aspire.
At Simplilearn. I guess not many learners have. Have you guys seen Bryan or no? Just a quick yes or no on the chat.
I'm easy to confuse with Brad Pitt if you've seen. No, just joking. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeses. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. Not yet. Yes.
Not yet. You're in.
Not yet.
Preach. Look at that.
Okay. Right. Okay. No. All right. Okay. Let me introduce Bryan to you then. So Bryan has got more than 25 years of experience in Agile, project and program management. He's a certified PMI trainer. He's also a scaled Agile framework practitioner, and also has PgMP, PMP, and the PMI-aCP certifications. He's also a certified Scrum trainer. He's kind of had, he's also a contributing author to the PMBOK, 7th edition of PMBOK, if I'm not wrong, and also has, track record in building and transforming PMOs, project management offices. So, which is why we thought Bryan is, kind of the right fit for you guys to get all your questions about PMP and your preparation answered. Welcome, Bryan, to the session. I'll let you introduce yourself here.
Sure. Yeah, not a lot else to add, other than the fact, yes, I've been doing this for, a long time, starting to measure that time in decades. So it's almost got 3 decades of experience, project program management. Do a lot of work, not just with organizations, but also Project Management Institute. But what I get very interested in is helping people get their own certifications. So really looking forward to spending some time on this today, and even more excited that we've got Rahul joining us, because he can tell you what it's really like to go through this whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting to have Rahul share his journey, because Rahul started off his career in the Indian Air Force, and he actually spearheaded communication intelligence systems, and he's also maintained like a 90% serviceability rate for combat assets. So it's like amazing, Rahul, to have you here. And he's transitioned to becoming program and a project manager. So it's exciting to have you, Rahul. Just a few words about before we proceed.
Yeah, thanks, Aparna, for that introduction, and thanks a lot for having me here. And it's nice to interact with the people all over the globe, and it's a nice opportunity. And as you introduced myself, that I'm a proud veteran from Indian Air Force, and I served in Indian Air Force for almost 14 years across all the borders of northern India, starting from a desert terrain to a mountainous terrain. And it's a beautiful service, I must say, that serving in any of the armed forces, nothing like it. It's a way of life, and you can't match that life. So I'm a proud veteran, and I'm transitioned now, and Right now, I am working in corporates and as a program manager, and I will love to interact with all.
Oh, yeah. Aparna, you might be on mute. If, there we go. I thought you were being unusually quiet. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to disturb Rahul while he was speaking. Yeah, and also I was like changing my screen, but I hope my screen is visible now, right? Yeah, yeah. All right, great. So this is for the learners here. Just like a quick question again, you could let us know on your chat what is your current familiarity level with the PMP exam? Like, are you familiar? You know the basics already. You've already started, or you've taken an attempt. Whichever your level is, just 1, 2, or 3. That's okay. I've not launched this as a poll. You can just answer this on the chat.
Coming soon. Hang on. But everyone's eager. Look at all those numbers flowing through.
Yeah, absolutely. They're kind of
Okay, a lot of people preparing already. That's good, but still
already tempted. Okay, good to know. Good to know. A mixed bag, kind of. Yes. Okay, but still, I mean, even if you know the basics, it's always good to hear it from someone who is, a certified trainer and has so much experience in the field. So, Bryan, we could get started about why or what exactly PMP exam is all about.
Sure. Yeah, let's dig into that. So I guess first off, might be helpful to kind of define what PMP stands for. So this is the Project Management Professional. And as we can see, it's a globally recognized certification. This is a certification that's offered by the PMI, that's the Project Management Institute, which is indeed a globally recognized certification body. So they're the ones that kind of define what it takes to get the PMP. And really, where it becomes really impactful is and I think Rahul will probably have a lot to share on this, is it really demonstrates that not only can you effectively kind of manage projects, but you can do it within a framework that you can apply to different types of projects, different sizes of projects. So in particular, organizations are very interested with finding people with these skills because they have lots of projects. So they want people that are comfortable and familiar with using these techniques consistently so they can ensure that they're delivering the value that these projects represent. So getting that PMP is definitely a mark of excellence, as it says right there, because it really demonstrates you know how to deliver projects successfully.
Yeah. That's exactly what the PMP is all about. We already have questions about jargons. Maybe we'll come to that in probably the next segment where we're talking about what, broadly speaking, what topics does it cover, if you can highlight that. And maybe just a little bit on what, not exactly jargons, but what are terminologies that people should be comfortable knowing.
Yeah, so yeah, this is a really interesting question because on the face of it, the idea of managing project is relatively straightforward, right? You've got some outcome in mind. You're working with maybe a time frame. You've got a schedule. You've got a budget. But when you really unpack that a little bit more, you discover there's actually a lot more that goes into successfully managing a project than just keeping it on track or managing its budget. You've got considerations like how do we manage scope? How do we manage quality? What happens if we have a risk, an issue that emerges? We might need to coordinate across different teams, resources. You're working in some industries, you might need to get pieces of equipment and materials delivered at the right time. You might have to think about currencies if you've got a large global initiative, and how do we convert those currencies? So lots of questions begin to emerge. And what the PMI has done is they've sort of structured this in a way to kind of keep it a bit more manageable into these 3 broad topic areas. The first is process. And as you might expect process is sort of the steps, the activities that we're going to perform to complete our project successfully. So this includes things like your project is starting off. We need to understand sort of what the scope is. What does a project include? What doesn't it include? And we often use a term of project charter for that. That's sort of the language that the PMI has. So these are processes. So we're going to have to get comfortable with processes. Second part is people, because we can't deliver projects without people. People are a really important part of our ability to deliver that value. So project managers need to understand how to interact with people, to help maybe develop and grow the skills of people to deliver these projects. Communicating across different stakeholders and different teams becomes really important. So there's a heavy emphasis on how a project manager works closely with people. And then finally, we have the business environment. This is a really more aligned with sort of the why behind the work. Why do we have a project? What is it trying to achieve? And then what kind of things does the company care about? Every company is a little bit different, right? They will put different emphasis on certain parts of how they want to work together as an organization. So you have to understand the culture of the company. They might also have standards you need to leverage. So they might have templates for things like status reports and budget templates, things like that. So we need to understand where to go to get that information. So you've got these three broad topics. Now, if we dig into that a little bit more, there's these even more detail that we're going to learn about as project managers, and that's going to include things like, how do I build out a schedule? What does a good schedule look like? Where are the dependencies I might have in work? What does a milestone look like so I can track my progress through the project lifecycle? What budgeting techniques should I use to come up with a project budget? And then how do I forecast how much additional money I might need to complete the project? So there's a lot more detail that goes into it, but at the highest level, we really have these three broad categories: process, people, business environment.
Right, got it. Another question that we had on the Q&A box, very related to this, is so if a learner is preparing for the PMP exam, they should be referring to the 6th version or
Well,
7th? Yeah.
Fantastic question, whoever's asking that. So the latest version of the PMBOK is version 7, 7th edition.
Yeah. Okay.
So you really want to ground yourself in the 7th edition. But there was a bit of a shift that the PMI did. Just to give you a little bit of context, the 6th edition was this massive, weighty tome. It was 1,000 pages long. So there was a lot of information in there, which, probably not surprising because the PMI has been doing this a long time, and there's lots of different types of projects, lots of different industries that this guidance has to apply itself to. But probably shouldn't surprise you to discover that for many people, 1,000 pages was a lot to kind of go through. It was a little overwhelming. So they made this pivot with the 7th edition, and they skinnied it down. So now that document, I think, is maybe in the 250-page range.
Wow.
But the ideas from the 6th edition, the 1,000-page version, are still very important. They're all referenced on the exam. And the way the PMI has managed this, they basically said you've got to start with a PMBOK 7th edition. Our expectations are you're going to be very familiar with that to take the exam. But in addition, you need to find all that 6th edition content that they've now moved into essentially a wiki at the projectmanagement.com site. So there's a little higher expectation that as a project manager, you're bringing in a lot of practical experience. And we're going to hear more about that shortly. But that you are also doing sort of your own learning and research. So you've got to kind of dig into some of these topics. You got to do some more exploration. So my guidance would be, I would really like the 6th edition. I would get the 6th edition, keep it on your desk close to you, because that information is all going to be very relevant to the exam. But make sure you read and understand the 7th edition.
So is it already out? I mean, obviously that's going to change the exam format as well. Another learner.
Yep. This was released, actually, good news, a couple years ago. So there's already been a fair amount of soak time in it. And you can, so this, you just, and by the way, just give people some confidence here. If you take the training through Simplilearn, we cover all those bases. You won't have to worry about, which version to use, etc. Your instructor will guide you through that process.
Absolutely. Got it. So I think that's just a little bit about what the PMP exam is all about. Someone has a question about PMI and PMP. Yeah, I think, Bryan, you're already answering that, but PMI is that certifies you, and PMP is one of the certifications that they offer. So, Bryan, are there also other certifications that someone can take?
Yeah, exactly. There are. So the PMP is sort of their flagship certification. That's the big one that most people are interested in. But it's interesting because a couple folks had a few questions of this. There are other ones. So you saw I have a PgMP, that stands for Program Management Professional. And what the difference between a program and a project. Program is sort of multiple projects grouped together so we can deliver something of even more value. So programs are generally larger, often more complex, really focus on outcomes, so you can get that certification. We did have someone ask, "Hey, I'm a college, person. I'm taking my studies right now. Is this so relevant?" And yes, you can take a equivalent PMP called a CAP-M. That is sort of a certified associate project manager. So you're not quite at the point you can manage projects, but you can still learn all these techniques. So yes, there are a number of different certifications you can get. PMP is sort of the big one. If you're just learning, you don't have a lot of experience, the CAP-M is a good one. For many people on this call that have, upwards of 15 plus years, you might also want to think about the PgMP, which is the program management certification.
Probably we'll talk about eligibility when we talk about PMP eligibility. We can also cover eligibility for the other certifications. So another very interesting question that probably you could answer best is, what are some of the myths that are common in while preparing for PMP? And I'm sure there are more than what we've listed here. We've done them from learners as well. So maybe you could just share some common myths that a lot of learners have.
Yeah. And for many people, I think part of the reason the PMP is a little bit, overwhelming at times, maybe a little anxiety producing, is, they look at all this information and think, gosh, I got to memorize everything. And yes, you're going to have to be, familiar with the concepts of principles, but you don't need to memorize it. Really, what you need to do is understand scenarios in which you can apply these techniques. And that's really what the exam is going to emphasize. You're going to see lots of, here's a description of a certain situation, a scenario. You then need to respond with sort of the best way to answer those questions. So you don't have to memorize it, but you're going to have to kind of really be familiar with the intent, the principles behind it. Similarly, and this came up, someone asked a question, "Hey, can I pass this and with just 2 months of minimal prep?" I mean, everyone's a little bit different. There certainly are people that I think could easily pass this in 2 months, and that if you really apply yourself, I think that's something to achieve. But I think a more realistic time frame would be that 3 to 6 months to make sure you're really thoroughly prepped, because the training's really going to kind of give you exposure to the whole framework and that, sort of the content within the PMBOK. But you're going to then need to spend some additional time reading, reinforcing what you learned. And then, and the last one, I think is really quite important, that many people kind of lose sight of, is that it's a pretty demanding exam. For many of us, it's probably been a while since we've taken an exam. This is a big exam. It's 4 hours long. It's 3 hours and 50 minutes. So it's a lot of time to sit and take an exam. For most of us, we haven't had to do that for a very long time. Maybe we've never had to do that. So taking practice exams becomes really important, because you want to get kind of accustomed to this, like running like a marathon. You don't just go out and run the marathon immediately. You work your way up to it. So definitely want to encourage people to take some practice exams.
Right. Absolutely. And as a part of our course, we actually do give practice tests as well, and a lot of question banks, as a part of our course, about which we'll talk in a while. What we would also want you guys to answer, you heard from Bryan that you would need 3 to 6 months. But from where you are, you guys said you're a newcomer to the entire exam, or you've already attempted. So how much time do you think you would take from whatever you heard? And also, Bryan, someone had a question about whether they would be able to download the PMBOK if they're not a paid member. I'm assuming the answer is no, right?
Okay, you check me on this. I think, generally speaking, they do kind of make this content available, and they don't paywall too much of it. But what I would suggest is the membership to become a PMI member is actually pretty affordable.
Right.
Sometimes you might even get your organization to pay for it, FYI.
Oh,
So talk to your manager, your boss, and see if this might be something. It's about $150 US. So it's significant, but not out of reach for most folks. But here's the thing. If you have your PMI if you pay for your PMI membership and then you take the exam, they give you a discount on taking the exam. So
right.
you get that money back. So I would really encourage people to do that. In addition, you get access to a lot of other great resources, one of which is they have their own chat, GPT equivalent called PMI Infinity. And that's a very helpful tool, both as a project manager, I use it a lot myself, but if you're preparing for the exam, it's a
Mhm.
great place to go and kind of test your knowledge and get additional details and information.
Amazing. Yeah, I was actually just looking it up, and you're right, Brian. There is a membership fee.
Yeah,
You have to download the latest edition, and all of this is accessible on the PMI website, the official
it
one.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then coming to the big question about the exam difficulty, is it really challenging for someone to prepare? On an average, let's say someone is an entire newcomer to the exam. What do you suggest? Will they find it challenging to cope up with how the questions are structured? What should they expect?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd like to tell you it's super easy, but it is going to be challenging. And as you just heard, the exam duration itself is pretty long, like I said, close to 4 hours. Also, as we're going to learn a little bit about, they have a number of prerequisites that you have to demonstrate. So for many people, just the application process to get the PMP can be challenging. But the exam itself, yeah, there is a lot of content that you're going to cover. So you're going to be answering over 180 questions that you're going to need to spend time on. Now, the good news is a great number of these are going to be multiple choice. So you're
Yeah,
going to have four answers, and you got to pick the best answer from them. But there are other types too. They've got multiple selects, so there might be more than one right answer. There's matching. There's uh, fill in the blank questions. So yeah, it's a challenging exam, no doubt about it. And if you compare it to other exams, let's say you're kind of interested in this project manager space, you've been spending time with some of these agile practices like Scrum and Kanban and others. You might have gotten your certified Scrum Master certification. Well, that one is a much, much more accessible exam. In fact, we've done sessions like this in the past, Aparna, where we've talked about that. It's a great starting point for people either a little earlier in their career or maybe just starting with some of these agile concepts. The PMP has a much higher set of expectations in terms of your real world work experience, your educational background, and they're going to also expect you to kind of bring that knowledge into the exam. So it's a tricky exam. However, with the right training support, and we're going to hear a little bit more about that shortly. If you take your 35 hours of contact training, that's going to establish a really strong foundation to take and pass the exam. And then some additional practice and learning that you perform. So my general guidance would be think of this like a project. You've got an end in mind, so identify when you want to take the exam, work backwards from that. Think about, I'm going to take my training. Once I take my training, here's my study schedule that I'm going to follow. Take some practice exams, use those to kind of validate where you might have areas that you need to spend more time in, and then get yourself ready to take that final PMP exam.
got it. Got it. So, we'll come to the plan that someone should follow as well. Of course, but before that, we already have questions about mock exams and how many should they be taking? What should their strategy be around mock exams? And
Yeah,
also,
so
you did mention about pass percentage, but is there like something that they should score before they know they're ready?
well, yeah, that's a common question that comes up. So the first off is the PMI does not reveal what their pass um, level is, so that we're not really clear what it is. But a good guide would be 80%. So what I would suggest is every time you take a practice exam, you really target 80% as your threshold. That's probably going to get you cross the finish line here. My general guidance to people preparing for this is to take 4 practice exams. Make sure you take those 4 and then take them in the same way that you would take the real exam. In other words, remove distractions, focus for those 4 hours. Don't take an hour break or do it over a couple days. Just sit down, get comfortable, kind of taking that exam end to end, check your results. Most of the tools that, Simplilearn offers going to tell you, when you take a practice exam, here's areas that you need to spend more time strengthening. So look for tools that are going to help you with that. And that will definitely get you to the point you can successfully pass the exam.
Got it. Got it. All right. All right. So, what are some strategies that you would suggest to learners preparing for the PMP exam?
Yeah, well, I think you see a couple of points here. The first is stay consistent and organized. It's like learning anything. You got to stick at it, and there's going to be moments where it's going to feel maybe a little frustrating, a little challenging, but just be persistent. Create that study plan. And for many of the folks on the call, and I went through this too, you probably have real work you're doing. You've got a family that you've got to include in sort of these activities and processes. Just build out something that's realistic. But carve out some time every night, every other night. Make sure it's dedicated time. Spend a couple hours going through material, getting comfortable with the concepts, the ideas. When you're at a point where you feel you've got a good understanding of the underlying framework, the foundation, start taking those practice exams. Don't lose sight of the fact that there's many other people that are trying to do the same thing. That is a great community to be part of. So check with them, ask how they're doing. Maybe form study groups. You might be maybe in a larger organization where you got 3 or 4 other people that are interested in taking the PMP. Say, hey, let's do it together. Let's learn together. So those are kind of, I think kind of ground level foundational behaviors that you can start with. But the other thing you got to ask yourself a little bit is this something you're really interested in doing? Because it is a big commitment of time. So make sure this checks in with sort of the career path you want to take, because that's going to help bring some of that energy into the studying you're going to do.
Yeah, so we'll talk about career paths as well. We've got a few questions there, but Bryan, we also get a lot of questions around the eligibility aspect of it. And of course, these are criteria that PMI has set. So maybe if you can elaborate that, and we can pause maybe some questions from the audience.
Yeah, and this is where, again, I think a lot of questions emerge when folks start taking this path. So the first is the eligibility criteria. So notice there's kind of 2 main tracks. If you have a bachelor's degree, a 4-year university accredited college degree, that is sort of a foundation. And then you need to pair that with 3 years of actual project management experience. So anywhere from 36 months or 4,500 hours. Quite a bit, right? Quite a bit of experience. Like not only do you need a 4-year degree, but you're going to show 36 months of practical project management experience. So we'll dig into that a little bit shortly. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, well, the expectations are you're going to have more experience. You're going to have to show your high school diploma plus 5 years of project management experience. And then in addition, you're going to have 35 hours of contact project management education. And what's the difference between contact and other options? Well, contact just means you've got an instructor who is teaching you. And that's actually going to be really valuable because you really need to hear from a person that is familiar with the content and can also bring some real world experiences into the conversation. So that's the eligibility criteria. You've got to have this before you can even take the PMP. And in fact, you're going to have to apply. So there's a form you're going to have to fill out, and that form gets reviewed by the PMI. And in some cases, they will randomly audit your application. And what does that mean? Well, they're going to say, hey, you said you have 36 months of experience and you listed this experience, and now we want to talk to the people that worked with you and make sure that what you're saying is kind of lining up with what they saw. So just be, for many people, it can take several weeks just to fill out the form to take the exam.
Right. So just to summarize, someone with a bachelor's degree needs a 3 or at least 3 years of experience. Someone who just has a high school diploma, 5 at least, and then 35 contact hours of project management education. And so yeah, they need to demonstrate this. Of course, for the 35 contact hours, there's a certificate that can be approved. But
Right.
what about, say, project management experience? Do they describe it? Does someone has to vouch for it? Is there like a reference check sort of a thing that's done from a manager?
Yeah, really all of the above.
Okay.
So you are going to have to describe the work you did,
Okay.
and we're going to try and use as much as you can PMI language. You built schedules and you came up with budgets and you managed risks and issues. Then you're going to have to say in the form, it's going to say, who can the PMI reach out to validate that what you said is accurate?
Right.
Now, they're not going to do that with every single application because there's just too many, but they're going to pick a few of them at random. And this has happened to me. They will audit you. They will reach out to that person and they will take a screenshot or PDF of what you submitted and saying, Bryan Campbell said he did the following in this project. Do you validate that? Is this really what he did? So it becomes really important before you submit your application, you reach out to the people that you're going to use as a reference. And in some cases, that might be hard, right? Because maybe this work, occurred 3-4 years ago. So now the question becomes, do you still have their contact information? And you might have to run that down, which is why it does take a little time to just submit your application itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's probably the most important aspect, and probably also to reflect, based on what you said, if they're really eligible. So we've got a bunch of questions on eligibility actually, and I was kind of anticipating this in the session. So let's say someone has done, a portion of it. Someone has done inventory management. Someone has done, say, budgeting. Does that also count as project management experience? Because these are, again, functions or part of a bigger project. So does that count?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great question. And I'm sure anyone applying is going to have to answer that. So here's a general guidance. If, for example, and I think we might have an example on the next screen that maybe might be helpful here.
Yeah, let me just switch the screen. Yeah, there actually. Yeah.
Okay. So things that matter, things that are going to count, is it you want to demonstrate you're working on projects. Okay, and we're going to differentiate between projects and operational activity. So if you're working on a team that's, doing a lot of accounts payable activities, probably not going to be count towards your project management experience. But if you were part of a team, maybe a very large project, and you were helping supporting the budget and managing the invoices associated with the budget and things like that, that would definitely count. So you're going to have to look at the work that you perform, tie it to a project, and align it with what the Project Management Institute is going to define as working on a project. So, and this is where a lot of times too, Simplilearn does a really good job of this. As you finish your training, usually your instructors, people like me, will say, okay, everyone, let's start your application process and then bring questions back and I'll help you submit your application. Because I helped the PMI a lot with this, so I can help people as they're applying. So it's really important, just start the process. If you want to check it out, it's someone asks, like, what does the application look like? What information? You can start your application right now.
I see.
And it'll show you the screens. You can get a little familiar with it. You don't have to submit it yet, but it'll give you a bit more exposure to what questions are being asked and how you need to report against this.
So does someone have to be a member as well for filling the application, or can someone?
You do not yet. You can anyone can do it. You could do it right now, Aparna, if you wanted.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure. Yeah. And so also another question that, we've got, I know kind of the answer is probably the same. So if someone has a master's degree, do they have, a kind of a leeway or some sort of a concession there on the work experience, or is it still the same?
All right. No, great that someone achieved that, and you should be very proud of it, but it's not going to help you with your PMP application. You still have to demonstrate that you've got real world practical project management experience.
Got it. All right. All right. And what if someone has not been a manager? But I think you did answer that. So maybe anything that counts as project related work in their 15-year span. So Dinesh actually has 15 years of experience. He's got a BCom with an MCA, not as a manager probably, but he wants to know if he's eligible. Probably, I think the answer is
Yep.
anything, any sort of project related work is
Yes. Yeah.
got it. All right. So John, I think because you've just joined, we actually covered that in the beginning of the session. So you will receive a recording tomorrow, and maybe you can take a look at that. So Bryan, just a couple of more questions before, I ask the learners another question about their preparation is what are the soft skills that someone needs to develop as well? Because I'm sure along with preparing for the exam, they would have to develop the mindset for managing projects as well. So what according to you are them? Dia actually has this amazing question.
Yeah, I know that's a great question. So you might remember when we looked at sort of the three broad areas that the exams are going to cover, a really big part was people, right? So project managers work with people. And I think someone asked a question that, hey, how do we see generative AI affecting this area, this profession? So this is really important. I think first off, that's a good question to ask, and we should all be keeping a little bit of an eye on, how AI is going to impact different roles and career paths. But the good news is, as a project manager, a great deal of our time is spent communicating, right? We're working with people all the time. So those soft skills are very valuable. It's very hard for AI to displace those kind of people-centric skills. And what did those look like? So as a project manager, oftentimes you don't have a lot of formal authority. What you really have is what's called referent authority. Side note, that will be on the exam. And really that means is people trust you. You've got integrity. They want to come to you to get support and help them deal with issues. So that's a really important part. Those soft skills are really important. So you're going to emphasize communication. We want to be transparent. You want to be a little bit vulnerable to kind of let people know it's okay if you're having an issue because, hey, we all have those. Let's work together in solving them. So a lot of focus. 42% of the exam questions are going to be in that space. And how do you work well with people?
Got it. So it's obviously important to develop people skills, all of the things that Dia has mentioned, probably good communication, ability to manage conflicts, being able to negotiate, all of that.
Yep, you're hitting all the right points. Exactly.
Yeah, got it. All right. So maybe a quick question for the learners if they were paying attention to Bryan or not. So we kind of, I'm kind of wanting to know from the learners their answer here. What is counted as, project management experience? So if you're supervising a team of 5 people processing invoices and tracking client payments, is that one? Or B, working on IT projects? Okay, just an example, guys. It's not that, that's the only criteria again. C is led a cross-functional team of 8 to implement a new customer billing system, define project scope, schedule, managed expectations. Which of these counts as experience? You guys can let me know your answers on the chat. Oh, we actually did this in a live session, Bryan. You had question bank
Right.
prepared. We did that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Similar one, I thought, would be a good idea. People to know what counts as experience.
Yeah, we're getting some good answers here.
Yeah.
So maybe just kind of point people in the right direction. So C is probably the strongest answer here. And let's talk a little bit about why. So C is clearly highlighting the fact that you were working on a project, right? You're implementing a new customer billing system. You're defining project scope, developing a schedule, managing stakeholder expectations. These are all things project managers need to do. So that's a very strong candidate for the best answer. The first one, supervising a team of 5 people processing invoices. Well, that's kind of operational in nature, right? Not really project specific. So great that you're managing a team. That's good demonstration, maybe management, leadership skills, but it's not really project centric. And the B is just a little too vague, right? Just worked on IT projects. Well, what kind of work did you do on the IT projects? What were the projects? So they are going to expect to see a little bit more depth, a little bit more detail in examples of work that you're going to provide.
Yeah, got it. So I think then strongest answer, probably the right answer for this question would be C, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So now I think people, whoever's here, has been listening to Bryan for the last, say, 45 minutes, is kind of clear on what counts as experience. What should your strategy be if you're starting out? So we'll kind of get to that in depth as to what your plan should be. So Bryan, do you have like a study plan, some sort of a plan that learners can use, say for 3 to 6 months, or some what do you suggest?
Yeah, for sure. So, a couple things. One is, one of the nice things that Simplilearn provides, and if you're interested in understanding, other learning provider options, is you should be able to get from them what they would recommend. So these are sort of what the guidance Simplilearn has developed, having done this for many, many years for many, many people. First is start with the foundation. Get familiar with the exam structure. Why? Because that tells you what you need to understand to successfully pass the exam and the topics within it. So you saw those 3 categories we mentioned before, the process, the people, the business environment. So yes, you're going to understand those, but you're going to unpack that just a little bit more and look at those 10 knowledge areas that are also referenced in that. So you really got to get comfortable with that. You're going to have to start looking at the PMBOK. Both versions, the 7th edition one, great starting point. I would really encourage you to get the 6th edition too. So you really gotta get your arms around what it is you need to know to pass the exams and then start learning about that content. Next up, once you've kind of got that in place, is get it enrolled in a course, because you need those 35 contact hours of instruction. And going into that instruction with sort of a good understanding of the scale, the scope is going to be really valuable. And then take your course. And there's a lot we're going to cover. 35 hours is going to feel like a lot of training, but there is a lot of information you have to learn and absorb. And then once you've got that in place, then you need to sit down and ask yourself, okay, I need a study plan. When am I going to study? What topics am I studying? What are the milestones that tell me that I'm comfortable with that topic material? Maybe I'm taking some little practice exams. I've got a group that I'm working with that we can check in with each other. Follow that plan, and that's your plan. Okay, you got to layer in all your other work responsibilities, your family commitments, things like that. Get it to the point that you feel comfortable that you can support that, and then hold yourself accountable. Make sure that you're checking with yourself. Am I on track? Am I doing what's expected? Just like a project manager would.
Got it. All right. I think this is like a 3-step simple plan that learners can follow. Maybe you guys can let us know which step you are in right now. So if you're at the first step, it's actually the most important, where you understand the exam structure. You're there, put step 1 on the chat. And if you've already enrolled in a course, you're already part of our PMP exam, then probably step 2, PMP certification training, then step 2. Or, have finished the training and you're ready to take the exam, then step 3. It's probably what you answered in the beginning, but curious.
Yeah, and I think, and also part of it, we might have to look back, but I think we covered this maybe 8 months ago. So if you look back and just type Simplilearn Project Management, Bryan Campbell, you might see some early recordings that we did that go into a little bit more detail on this topic.
Yeah, I think we did. We actually did cover this. If people could check out the YouTube channel of Simplilearn, and probably head to the live videos and search for PMP, you would be able to find the PMP prep plan as well. So now that you know what you should do, you kind of have to get you started if you are in your step 1, which is to be able to stay consistent, making sure that you're moving towards, taking the exam, taking the mock test, so that you get the confidence to apply for the actual exam, right? Which is why I'm going to talk to you about the next few minutes. We're going to talk about how our PMP certification training has helped Rahul and many other learners, more than 115K of them, to actually achieve the PMP certification and take on project management roles, right? So what you get as a part of this course is live sessions from instructors like Bryan, who are basically trainers and also understand what happens in real world, in actual business environments. And what Bryan mentioned in the beginning of the session, so we actually cover our syllabus covers the latest PMP exam content. And you also get the 35 contact hours, which is an eligibility criteria for giving your PMP exam. And remember, I mentioned about mock tests and question bank. So you get 20 plus practice questions per topic, and also mock tests for you to be ready and understand how far you are from taking the actual test, right? And we also offer 100% money back guarantee. So if in case you don't clear your exam, then also get your money back if you don't clear it in the first attempt, right? So that's just a little bit about what we offer. Bryan, if you can also break down the curriculum a bit and how we've built the curriculum here.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm certain Rahul's going to have a lot to offer with his journey. But, at a very high level, we're going to start with really, the introduction course. Here's the syllabus, here's the content. But then really start thinking about the why behind the work. What's the business environment that you're operating in? Why is this project important? Make sure people are going to understand the goals, the outcomes that we need to achieve, the project team performance, because now the next step up is you're going to assemble a team. Think of sort of your favorite Marvel movie, Avengers Assemble. You got to bring together all the right people so we can get that project delivered. And you're going to start the project, get it kicked off, understand the charter, the scope, who the stakeholders are. With that, we can then plan out exactly what the schedule, what the budget looks like, and then you lead the project. That's an important role of the project manager. You're sort of the conductor of the orchestra. And then we'll close things out in the final phase of the project, kind of get all our accounts paid off and, release materials, resources if necessary. There's lots of good online video content that Simplilearn makes available. And then that last part, for many people, probably one of the more important parts is how do I actually apply and can I get some help with that? So that's generally how the course is going to proceed.
Got it. So different phases of the project, and of course, towards the end, got the application assistance as well, and also a free course on how you can leverage GenAI in project management and also quality management. Bryan, I know you answered that question a while back about whether GenAI is going to take on these roles. We actually did a session on that as well. Guys, you should head to our YouTube channel, find all the PMP webinars that we've done. But yeah, maybe for that one learner, if you can just answer, I know it's not going to, I know you're going to say no, hey, but maybe answer this.
Yeah, I think and again, as I mentioned, I think it's a very valid question for people to be asking. And there's no doubt AI is going to have an impact on a lot of the activities that project managers perform. And one thing I think it's easy to lose sight of is that for many project managers, and I'm sure Rahul's got this experience here, is there's actually a lot of administrative work that we do, right? We're always sending out little emails, we're updating spreadsheets and other work management tools. And I think AI is going to take a lot of that work away from project managers. So we can spend more time on ensuring that we understand what the right outcomes are, that we're communicating effectively, that we really understand what the requirements are. So I think we're going to see project managers actually doing more of the things that they really enjoy doing and less of the things that perhaps are a little more administrative in nature. So I think these are good questions to ask. And I think the jury's still, I don't think we know exactly what AI is going to do, but pretty confident we're all aware it's going to have some impact.
Yes, got it. All right. I hope whoever had that question, we posted this twice. Their question is answered. Let's just move ahead and talk about program advisors and trainers. These are just some trainers, of course. When you head to the course page and click on enroll now, you'll be able to find list of trainers who are going to be taking the upcoming cohorts. A program advisor is actually Tim Jerome, so you can check out their profiles as well on the course page, right? And you also get access to all of this in a dedicated learning environment that's unique to you. You're able to access your cohort manager, you're able to access the online video lectures, you're able to access the live classes as well. And let's say you miss a session, you're given the recording so that you can revisit it whenever you want to. right? Yes, for this webinar too, you will be receiving a recording tomorrow as a separate email. But let's say you take our PMP training, you will be able to access all of this on your own learning environment, right? So there's also learning support. Let's say you've got questions about accessing course materials and you have the facility to reach out to someone. There's also someone present during the live sessions for you. Again, let's say to access something, or you have a question for the trainer, or you've got questions about your progress, it can be anything. A cohort manager would be able to answer that, right? So with this, I'm just going to kind of shift focus to Rahul, because Rahul has been one of our learners. So Rahul, firstly, I think whoever's watching you right now would be really interested to know what made you have, take this transition from being a wing commander to taking on project management. So firstly, why that switch? Maybe you could answer that for our learners.
Yeah. Thanks, Aparna. Thanks, first of all. Uh, a few times back, I was on the other side learning and listening to the course instructors, and on the other side, and I'm glad that I'm on this side sharing my experience. So first of all, thanks to Simplilearn, Aparna and Bryan. So Aparna, I was talking about my journey and my experience about taking the PMP exam. Um, was talking about defense structure or defense kind of working. Um, it has a very structured and a very linear kind of working, I must say, where the things are quite defined, and all the mission that are they're planned by the military, they actually follow each and every step. They follow the principles of the project management. Like for example, if there is any a critical mission is planned, then first of all you have to initiate, you have to understand what is the scope. You need to have that clarity first. What is my target, which are my target. Then need to identify what are your stakeholders. You need to identify what will be your resources, which are the people you will be using, which are the weapons which you will be using, who will be supporting. Then you need to do a strict schedule management, where at what time uh, in the military you have to be very quick and a very crisp time management. Each and every second it counts. So you need to do a schedule management into that depth. Then there is the communication. While executing, you need to communicate with various different kind of agencies, different kind of layers of authorities, and you need to have that a proper communication. So being coming from a defense background, defense, any defense project or any defense mission you call is actually project management. And I have when I was transitioning, I thought I would learn what is the project management, what are the principles, and while learning, I got a structure to what I was earlier using, and I got actually the clarity and what are the basic principles. Though I was practically using it, but with the help of PMBOK, I got what exactly I was doing. I got what are the structures, and how could we effectively plan those and actually use, whether it is actually a military or maybe anywhere you are working in, maybe any production sector, manufacturing sector, services sector, or IT sector. These principles, the basic guidelines principles, are applicable at across the corporate or any services, across the culture, across the globe. These processes are standard, and that's how I had learned about this project management.
Amazing. So another question that I'm sure the learners have in their minds for themselves and for you as well is, how did you manage to find an opportunity let's say, what was your outreach process for finding a job after, retiring from the Air Force? So, what was your strategy like? I know that, you were obviously with what you said about schedule and people management and all of the project management that you were doing as a part of Air Force, but you said that PMP kind of gave that structure to you. So how did you take the next step? What was your strategy like when you went on to take a job in the corporate?
Yeah. Thanks, Aparna, for that question. It is very difficult for a military veteran to companies coming to the corporate world to explain what he has done, because anybody hiring, he asks the first question that what you have done, what are your expenses, and what you have done.
Correct.
You can't come to a corporate table and say that I have done so many bombardings, or I have fired so many missiles, I have flown, I have 3,000 hours of flying experience, and I was the armored guy. I used to drive the tanks and like
Wow.
that. We have done it, but we can't say it like that.
Yeah.
Anybody would say, yeah, what, how will it matter to me?
Yes.
So, for this to answer, we need to structure our answer, and we need to explain the corporates the way they understand.
Hmm.
And here, PMP actually helped me
Hmm.
to explain what I have done, the way it has been done outside, and the way it is being structured, and the way it is known that what how whom I though I had not handled my customers, but the soldiers who were working under me, they were my stakeholders. All
Hmm.
the people to whom I was protecting, they were my customers.
Right.
All the authorities, the command headquarters, the commanders, my higher commanders, my higher formations, they were my stakeholders.
Hmm.
So I have framed my understanding, my speech, or my interviews. uh, I have scheduled like that, and I used these terminologies and this framework. I have used it, and it actually helped me. And even in the transition, while doing my day-to-day routine tasks, it does help me with my experience. I can better understand the process. I can understand where are the gaps. I can understand where will be the risk and what will be the impact, how it will impact our organizational processes, and how to mitigate it. What would be the strategies?
Hmm.
So like that, it help in your day-to-day task when you actually implement the project management principles.
Got it. All right. All right. And one last question to you, Rahul, is how did you manage to kind of use and structure your resources as well? So of course you took our training that kind of shaped up a lot of things for you. But how did you manage to kind of filter out unnecessary information and use what is actually necessary from the internet? What other resources did you use?
Yeah. Um, uh, First of all, I must say that all the instructors, or whichever batch, when you enroll with Simplilearn, all the instructors, they are very fantastic. They just take you very smoothly. They will onboard you from whichever background you may be.
Hmm.
Though, first of all, they let us understand what is the PMP, what is the syllabus, and what is the exam is like. What are the questions that are likely, and even at the time of instructions, uh, each and every concepts they explain with the very normal and suitable examples, live examples, so that each and everybody can understand these principles, and they explain concept in this way. So your 50% job is over in that 35 hours contact program only.
Hmm.
And
Right.
apart from that, as rightly brought out by Brian, that you need to undergo a sample test, mock test, and definitely in very compact and very disciplined way you have to undertake those mock tests. These mock tests are offered by Simplilearn also. And also on the PMI website, if you go through the PMI website, there are study hall. There is a column called study hall, and if you enroll for the study hall, they also offer a mock test. There are a lot of resources are available. There are topic wise questions are there, flashcards are there. If you take that, then I think nothing like it. So just go for it, with whatever background you are in. Appear for those, try those mock tests, and if you are you will be comfortable on the first test. Definitely you will find that yet I'm not managing the time. I'm running short of my time. But uh, slowly, in maybe in second or third or fourth attempt, you will get used to it. You will get to that sitting time of almost 4 hours. So you will get used to it. And one simple hack, I will say, or the one which I have used for myself, is uh, thinking about your own example in the past. If you had have been there in that position, if there is scenario based question, if you would have been there, or just imagine a situation in your past experience that if it would have been you, then what you would have done in that situation. And simply one of the answer will definitely will match. And that's how I have done it. And I have appeared for this PMP and cleared PMP in a first attempt.
Wow, amazing. Great, great tips. Actually, I think that's a great tip to imagine yourself in a scenario when you're doing such questions. Thanks, Rahul, for
Yeah,
sharing your journey. I'll probably just head on with the session and call you back if there are more questions for you. Of course, we had a question on time management. I think you already kind of answered that for the learner. And I'm just going to proceed ahead and show the certificate.
sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah, how the certificate looks like. This is how you receive the certificate after you've completed the training, and this also, like I said, shows that you are fulfills one of the eligibility criteria for applying for the test. And how do you enroll in this program is very simple. So I'm going to launch a poll in a while. You can express your interest to talk to a learning advisor through the poll and express whatever concerns you have about your preparation, what you are looking for, what your expectation is, and also get clarity on what resources and how they're going to be available. And you're good to go. Actually, you can quickly start off in the next couple of weeks. So the next cohort actually starts this weekend. We've got cohorts every weekend, and they run for a month. So the cohort starts on September 6th, and this is a timing Central Time Zone. But if you're living anywhere else, you could just head to the course page. Let me send the link to you guys. Just pasting that link on the chat. Here you go. And I'm also keeping the chat box off so that it does not go away. Yeah, so you can head to the course page and understand, what your cohort options basically, and you can also choose whichever seems the most convenient one to you. Okay, so this is the limited seat offer. We've got an extra 5% off for learners in India and the US. You can just use this coupon code until the 5th of September and get an extra 5% off on the course fee. So what you see on the screen right now is actually a discounted rate, excluding the 5% off. So you can just subtract 5% and you'll get to know what your actual fee is going to be. What I'm going to do now is launch the poll to express interest in the course. So in case you want to talk to a learning advisor, click on a yes, and you will be able to talk to a learning advisor if you're in India or anywhere else outside India, not except US and Canada. You will receive a call tomorrow morning. But let's say you're in US or Canada, in that side of the world, you will be receiving a call in the next few hours. So you could actually grab this offer and start your learning journey this weekend itself. Or if you're someone who is, you already know what to do, you've kind of taken this decision already, head to the course page. You can enroll right away by clicking on enroll now. And yeah, let me just show you the steps. Pretty simple. So you check your training options here, click on enroll now. Then you can check whichever cohort seems the right one to you, and then fill in your details and make the payment. So there's something known as Flexi Pass, which I actually forgot to mention. So if you enroll, say, in the upcoming cohort, and you feel that you'd like to start sometime later, you can do that as well. But there's time limit of 90 days. So if you don't want to start on the 6th of September, anywhere until 1.5 months, 3 months from the 6th of September, you can choose your cohort date. Okay, that's how the Flexi Pass system works. Yeah. So with that, I'm just going to keep the poll live in case you are interested. Just click on a yes and have the conversation with the learning advisor as well. And just another resource to help you get started with whatever questions you have, apart from what Bryan and Rahul already answered, is the Simply Mentor GPT. So I'm just going to show how the GPT works. Yeah, sorry, I think I'll have to sign up. We send the link here. I'm not logged in on ChatGPT, so I'm just going to log in here. And you could ask any question basically to, Simply Mentor. And let's say you're just starting out on your project management journey and want to know where to start. You could ask Simply Mentor this question. Okay, so I've shared the link to Simply Mentor as well. The video unfortunately is not working. Yeah, it is working, sorry. But just to take care of time here, I'm going to share the link and you guys can explore the tool later on as well. Okay. Okay. Someone has a question. Kenny, is it Prince 2 certified? So I'm not sure about what your question is. Who is certified?
That is a different certification, so I think the answer is pretty easy. It's no, it's not Prince 2 certified. But if that's an area you're interested in, and this has a little more prominence in Europe, Simplilearn has some Prince 2 certifications you could look at.
We actually do have Prince 2 certifications as well. Yeah, has a question. I heard about it and joined the session. So we're entering project management and finance.
Way to go, Via. Yeah.
Great to know that you found the session useful. Thanks,
Feedback.
everyone. Thanks, Bryan and Rahul, for your time as well.
Well, and I want to do a big shout out to Rahul. I mean, it's a lot. Hearing from me is one thing, but hearing from a person that's actually gone through the whole process and done it successfully, it was great just hearing what you shared. So I really appreciate your time today too, Rahul.
Thanks, Bryan, and thanks for this opportunity to inviting me to this platform. And it is really glad to share my experience. And
Yeah.
I'm open and I'm always there. If anybody wants to have any
That's
further
great.
doubts, then they can connect me on LinkedIn. And yes, I will be there always. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. And you set the bar pretty high. Look, he's wearing the jacket and everything. I might have to game it up a little bit. Rahul's setting the bar.
Absolutely. I was actually about to say that. He actually set the bar really high. That's like he's still carrying that in him. That the effort.
Definitely. Yeah. Looking good.
Yeah.
It's actually the part when you are the soldier, then you're always like that.
You're always a soldier, never leaves you.
Yeah, always a soldier. Once a soldier, always soldier. So it's naturally comes in.
Just happens. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Aparna. This was a great session. And like Rahul said, if people want to connect via LinkedIn, just look me up. I'm there. And yeah, that was so much fun.
Yes, same here. So much fun, guys. The last few seconds to end this poll here. So I'm just going to end it right here. and quickly launch a poll for filling out people's certificates. We've got to end the session in the next few minutes, so make it quick. Just enter your name, like what you see here. Ensure that your full name is entered on the poll and nothing else but your full name, so that you can receive your certificate tomorrow. Remember, you will receive the recording as well, along with the certificate, that the sample that you see here. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, great session, Bryan. Thanks again for your time, and thanks, Rahul, for your time as well. Probably
Thanks.
quick parting advice if you would want to share. Let's start with Bryan here.
The only guidance I would share is if you've taken the time to take this session, you're still listening here, you just build on that momentum. I mean, you've got an opportunity here. Just, hold yourself accountable. This is going to be a really important way to kind of strengthen your career path and your skills. So just keep going. That's all I would say.
Yeah. What about you, Rahul? What advice?
Yeah, I would must say that if you have taken the one step to be here for and listening to us for last 670 or 75 minutes or so, if you have taken that step, then I am sure that you will clear this exam and PMP. That's for sure. That's I'm very confident about it.
Yes, absolutely. For people joining us on LinkedIn and YouTube, it was great having you as well. So in case you're interested in enrolling in any of our programs, do drop your interest on the course page on the project management profession certification training, and you'll be reached out by a learning advisor. In case you've got specific questions about upcoming webinars, any of you guys here as well, just email us at webinars@simplylearn.net. But yeah, it was amazing. Actually, I enjoyed hosting session, one of the best sessions probably that I've hosted. Thank you, learners, for taking out the time and really showing the keenness to learn, and also amazing questions that you guys asked, all of them relevant and important. So I hope those were answered as well. And yeah, great. I'll see you in another session. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Okay.
bye. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Cheers, Jerome.
Bye. Bye. Bye.